The Savannah Way is a branded highway that links Cairns in tropical North Queensland to Broome in Western Australia. It's 3,700 kilometres from end to end. You go through 5 World Heritage areas and a countless number of national parks. And it's the most unexplored tourist destination left in Australia.
This is Northern Australia's remote outback. At the very core is country, culture and community. And it was one man's goal to open it up to the world, using local knowledge and encouraging traditional practices so that visitors could explore our country as well as learn about it. Connecting remote and magical places and some of the country's most adventurous spirits like pearls on a necklace. This is the story of the man who started it all and the places and people who continue his legacy.
Hi, I'm John, and this is my way.
When news came through in 2020 of the passing of John Courtney, there was genuine feeling of mourning across countless communities right across Northern Australia. He's been described as a true gentleman and was a pioneer of tourism in the far north. John's life work was to create a specialised and authentic organisation of experienced, nature-based tour guides who could take people into remote and inaccessible areas of Northern Australia. But the key to his approach was to use the local experts, the people who knew the region the best, the people who lived and breathed the land.
The Savannah Guides originally, and pretty well continually, are people who live in remoter areas of Northern Australia, small towns where people had no occupation other than grazing and maybe fishing if they were lucky. Tourism didn't exist. In fact, the roads were so bad in those days, that was my selling point. And I was a development person in the Gulf. And we sold it as being, now that you have a technology, i.e. the four-wheel drive technology, if you really want to test it out, you come up into the Gulf and try it on the roads because they're really bad. So the guides were the ones that actually opened up the remoter areas of Northern Australia.
Bram Collins' father Jerry was approached by John Courtney. The family ran a cattle property in remote North Queensland for generations before they discovered an expansive and intricate cave system on their land. You may know it now as the Undara lava tubes.
So he approached a group of select people who had world-class natural and cultural features on their land. And he talked to them about the development of an organisation, a network of tour guides where local people could be encouraged to share their local assets with visitors.
Some people were extremely good with botany. Other people were extremely good with history. Some people just knew that area. Your vehicle could break down and they'll give you a radio, put you underneath the shelter, and they'll disappear into the bush and say, stay there, I'll be back with help. They were those sorts of people. They knew their terrain intimately.
What makes Savannah Guides so good is the passion and the genuine sincerity about their job. Some of these people are following a career that is something that they're absolutely devoted to. Others are changing careers, sometimes late in life, to find their passion. But we find that they're all absolutely committed to looking after their guests, and they're continually learning. So they're always picking up new angles, new species, new stories that they're going to tell their guests.
G'day, I'm Grace, and this is my stomping ground. We run a training program out here. I'm going to give you a quick crash course in how to tell the difference between rock and bone, how to prepare the animals out of the earth, and how to fix the broken bones as well. Our two best friends in this facility are Super Glue and 5-Minute Arrow Bite. Best reaction I've had to my jokes in weeks, thank you.
John Courtney, the guy's vision and wisdom, he said, well, we need a identified tourism corridor that links all of these Savannah Guide enterprises together, and that's where Savannah Way started.
The Savannah Way is a route spanning across northern Australia from Cairns to Broome, linking each regional town along the way, allowing access and bringing business into the communities.
With the Savannah Way, it leads through all these smaller communities and just brings an extra source of revenue. We're able to keep the economy in these small rural towns flowing.
I could almost come up here blindfolded and know it like the back of my hand.
I had the privilege of knowing John. He was quite visionary in the concept, and it was probably a little bit before his time. It's certainly a concept that is very unique. It's one of a kind in the world, and its standards are second to none.
I think that helps North Australia itself. I actually think it helped people like myself to find ourselves. Find that it can be a good tour guide. Be passionate about it.
Stay with us as we travel along the breathtaking Savannah Way in Queensland, taking you to some of the most spectacular places in our country. Places virtually unseen and unexplored, with some of our nation's most adventurous spirits who are creating experiences you never knew existed. That's all still to come on this very special Savannah Way episode of My Way. Welcome back to a very special My Way, and only a short way across the water from Cairns' main tourist strip sits an ancient, heritage-protected, diverse landscape that feels thousands of kilometres from anywhere.
Where we're sitting down now in Grace Peak National Park, we call this mountain Ganyara, which is crocodile. So Bunda Ganyara, Crocodile Mountain. We're pretty much sitting in the belly of the beast now. My name is Victor Bulma. Yono bayengo wanjira ngajar ngurongo. Gadan gana mayebuga na gadan galenga mayebuga. Amayebuga na mayebuga na gadan galenga mayebuga. Gadan gana mayebuga. Manding Alpai is pretty much a language name within itself, where Mandi means the palm of your hand and Ngalbai means the back of your hand. When our grandfather used to go to country, he'd go in and Manding Alpai.
Meningulpai Ancient Indigenous Tours offer river cruises and land-based eco-tours. But at the heart of it all is the connection the local guides have to the land.
My people was here from day dot, and day dot is pretty much from the time of existence. We come through two brothers, our Dreamtime story, which is Goyal and Damri. And they pretty much gave us a moiety, which is the wet season, dry season, and that's Goroban and Gorominya. So growing up around in Manding Alpai country, or the Yarrabah region, it's pretty wholesome because of the culture that surrounds it. We live near a neighbouring group as well, and we share pretty much the same culture. And knowing your culture and sharing it to the wider community is a must. Straight after school, yeah, my grandparents pretty much built me up to actually do this kind of work in a sense of showcasing my culture. Chulkul, actually, we use it for resin for doing up all our wombers and spears. Today, I'm pretty much the only fellow who can actually speak our language fluently. The language name for that particular area is Gingara. That haven't left me, and that's pretty much a big part of my life. Like a lot of our language pretty much died out throughout Australia because of the interaction of Europeans. But still knowing that our culture still exists and our language still spoken, and like our songline, dance line, storyline still exists today. So welcome to Punta Ganyara, Grace Peak National Park. What I'm gonna do now is do a smoking ceremony for you guys. Once I put the leaves on, get a bit of smoke, I'll welcome you in a traditional language. Get a bit of smoke onto ya. Bamira yananyo, bamaya bayabangorongo. Yondo bayengo, garanongum, belengere bambil, bamira ngapi. Smoke through the sky, smoke through my eye. I ask my old people to welcome you to country. Bring out the bad spirit, give you a good spirit to walk through my country. When you're younger, like, you pretty much learn the first thing is how to make a fire. What material to use, like, it's about knowing your resource and what's in your country. What I'm saying is, walk with me and I'll show you my country. Our connection to songline, storyline, and danceline is pretty much, you can't separate culture, country, and people. We use a lot of that stuff to actually share it to the wider community in terms of running the Mandingalpa Ancient Indigenous Tours. Mandingalpa Ancient Indigenous Tours started in 2014 as a small gig where we bring small groups and just showcased what's on offer in our country, our medicinal plants and our edible plants, and it pretty much grew from there.
Mandingalpa Ancient Indigenous Tours run everything from hands-on tours to private charters, camping for school groups, and even a deadly dinner, plating up native ingredients for a one-of-a-kind dining experience.
Yeah, it's about showcasing our traditionally inspired menus. The experience is unique because of where we are, where we're situated, and the experience of just coming from Cairns to here, you lose your bearings. Just the stone throw away, but you gotta be a good stone thrower. This plant is similar to ginseng and guarana. So yeah, but this stuff here, you eat about 3 or 4 nuts, can stop your heart. Yeah. Because we're mountainous people, when we come from hunting down on the mud flats, we're gonna come back up in the mountain, we eat that bugger. Makes you run up the hill. Yeah. Real good stuff. Sharing it to the wider community is very important to us because of, it's who we are, and then we know that it's still strong within our community. Some of the events that happened in our country were very significant in terms of walking into the new era when the first boat hit the beach. And then the times of change from dormitory times where our grandparents couldn't speak their language. If they did, they got punished for it. And not only that, that's where it started to lose our connection to country and our language. That's one of the main reasons why we actually have this organization up and running, because of we've got to preserve a lot of our history in terms of sharing it to the future generation, knowing how to go and hunt, what seasonal patterns to hunt. It all connects to our storyline, songline, and dance line. Well, for the future, we're hoping to become self-sufficient, re-stimulate our community in terms of employment and sustainability, our well-being, and breaking out of those chains and creating something like this gives us more of a reason to live. And because of future generation, we don't want them, going down the same lines of how we pretty much grew up. So we want to create something where they can, leave a legacy for them, I suppose.
To start your Savannah Way trip right on the Cairns coastline with Victor, jump online and get your spots on one of his tours. After the break, natural hot springs in the Australian Outback.
When you walk the country, if you're walking there long enough, the country opens up and it tells you its secrets.
But coming up next, a railway line like no other.
Go on, mate. You go back in the bush.
And the spectacular stops it makes along the way. All still to come on this very special Savannah Way episode of My Way. Welcome back to this very special edition of My Way as we travel along the spectacular Savannah Way, the lasting legacy of John Courtney, a pioneer of tourism in the north, who created a link from Cairns to Broome, connecting each region town along the way. And while there are a few ways to explore the region, one of the more special ways is to jump on board this 1960s silver bullet train called the Savannah Lander. And on the way, meet Savannah guide, train driver and devoted protector of animals, Will Kemp.
I don't want to put on an act for them. I just want to show them some authenticity. I want to be the man that I am. I'm not pretty. I'm not the most eloquently spoken, bit rough around the edges, but I reckon I'm pretty North Queensland. So if you come on tour and you have me as a driver or guide, I think you're getting a pretty good experience of what North Queensland is.
Hey, g'day. My name's Will, and this is More Than a Train.
All aboard! Straight out of high school, I was lucky enough to start working in zoos, and I did that for about 10 years. I've got a massive interest in wildlife, and I really got to focus on Australian native wildlife during that time. The last year when I was working in zoos was right at the end of that global financial crisis, and the zoo that I was working at the time was in a really bad situation financially, and they just couldn't afford any of the keepers. They couldn't afford to pay us.
Will worked unpaid for 6 months to look after the animals until a fateful day when an old friend turned up with an opportunity that couldn't be more different to what he was used to.
When he initially asked me if I needed a job, I replied yes. And he said, "Do you think you can learn how to drive a train?" And I said, "No."
Hey, how excited are they?
That just seemed so foreign to me. My entire world before that had always been biological.
We'll let them get their photo.
It was certainly a scary thought, but I had nothing to lose.
See you later.
I thought I'd better give it a shot.
So, as Hamish said earlier, we're drivers. And we do everything. We're not just drivers, but we're guides, toilet cleaners. You've got to do the lot when you do this job. So, I hope you're happy with us. If not, stiff.
The Savannah Lander is the ultimate Outback rail experience that runs return trips from Cairns, starting in the lush rainforests, moving out into the Gulf Savannah. The trip is 4 days and 3 nights, with the train stopping at Almaden, Mount Surprise and Forsyth to take in the incredible local surroundings. While it's a regular government service, the announcement may be a little different to the city lines.
And because you're on the Savannah Lander, you're going to have a really unique opportunity offered to you. Does anyone want to get out of the train and walk across the bridge?
We're big on the selfies.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was an actual point where I all of a sudden felt like I was fitting into this job, but driving the train and coming across a native animal on the track and getting out, getting that animal, taking it off into the bush and letting it go. Yellow spotted monitor, Varanus panoptes, beautiful. Go on, mate, you go back in the bush. It really made me feel like I was having a bigger impact. When I got back on the train, I get bombarded with questions from passengers about them. The railway corridor really makes nice habitat for them, and we tend to find them right next to the line. No one expects that they've got a driver who has that kind of knowledge and experience up his sleeve to now be able to deliver the message that I wanted to deliver. Back in 2015, I got to meet Bob Irwin, Steve Irwin's dad, and he was obviously a really big influence on me when I was a kid.
Oh, okay. Oh, beautiful.
And meeting Bob, I was very excited. I went over to shake his hand and he said, "You're the train driver that'll stop the train and get an animal off the track." And I was like, what? He was like, "Well done." And he gave me the biggest shake of the hand, and that was unreal, you know. That was, an amazing moment.
You ask me what it's like, I don't know yet, but we'll find it out. We're going further now, further than the horizon.
There's not too many places left in Australia where the railway looks like that. You know, it's still the best example of an old school pioneering railway you can get on and travel in Australia. For our passengers, there's a lot of nostalgia. We start off in Cairns and we travel through the oldest growing rainforest on the face of the planet, which is pretty amazing. And then we transition into the Savannah. There's a whole bunch of different changes in between, but you really got to see it to believe it.
That's right. In a true journey from the lush tropics to the dusty outback, guests are treated to tours at the ancient underground mazes of the Chillago Caves.
The Trescan Cave, found in 1967 by 2 men.
A magical underground world full of natural and cultural history.
It all dates back to about 400 million years ago, and there was a warm, shallow sea here that had a lot of coral and a lot of sediment in it.
It's a spot where the passengers also overnight in ensuite cabins, right on the footsteps of the cave. Travelling a little further along the track, passengers have the chance to explore the spectacular Undara lava tubes. An ancient underground system that was formed after the Undara volcano erupted some 200,000 years ago, blanketing over 1,500 square kilometres of the region, creating rivers of lava as it spread.
I remember one American family was on board. They thought it was just amazing. This was the Australia that they wanted to come and see. Obviously, when I got the job, it was going to mean that I was going to be away for 4 days every week, which is a bit of a bummer, depending on whether you like your partner or not. I really like mine. She's great. So we talk to each other several times a day. So I do miss her when I'm away. At home now, my amazing other half, Mel, she's looking after everything from taipans to red bellies to death adders to goannas. So it is important for me to check in with her and make sure that she's not dead too. I do not see the Savannah Lander as a job. It is part of my life. The friends that I've made, I wouldn't even know how to number them all. Everything from the sunsets out here to the encounters that I've had with animals. There's so much that has impacted me, like seriously on an emotional level. I'm a much better person for it. Because it's not just a train, it's more than a train. I'll be doing it for as long as I can, yet I can't picture myself going anywhere. It's too good of a lifestyle. Australia's a big place, and you can come out here and listen to what it has to say. It might be the wildlife and the vegetation out here that you want to take back with you and tell everyone about how great that is. It might be the indigenous people. It might just be the fact that you've never seen a full set of stars in the sky at night. But the one thing I want them to take back with them is that the Savannah is here. It is an amazing place, and you got to get out and you got to see it.
To travel the Savannah Way with Will on board this very cool Silver Bullet train with the luxury of pre-planned stopovers at some of Australia's must-see locations, head to savannahalander.com.au for bookings.